Hey, thanks for getting us started this afternoon. Hey, wanted to ask a little bit about how things have kind of gone here at the outset of practice and having Coach Coombs working with the secondary, and now that we've kind of finally got a chance to have football on the immediate horizon. Just tell us a little bit about what the energy and the atmosphere have been like here.
Right. Well, if you know anything about Coach Coombs, he always brings the energy. I really think he's brought a new life, to the secondary. We lost most of our starters from last year, so we've got a lot of young guys that haven't been through the program. And Coach Coombs, he's been here for a long time, and he's able to really bring that culture and what we stand for here at Ohio State, to the program. So it's great to have him.
Thanks, man.
Okay, hold on. Okay, next up, Stephen Means from Cleveland.com.
Hey, Marcus, just wanted to ask, Kerry Coombs talked about back in the spring before a lot of the shutdown and the idea of starting a lot of you guys off at corner and then moving you around from there. And with so many open spots other than just Shawn Wade coming back, have you kind of moved around and, played slot, played outside corner? Where have you kind of been through all this, whether it was spring practice to now?
Right. So I've spent most of my time in the inside, the slot corner. But, we've all been pretty interchangeable as a unit. We've had a lot of guys bouncing around, and I think one thing he really preaches is versatility. And so, that's what we kind of stand for as a unit.
Next up, Bill Landis with The Athletic and Austin Ward on deck. Bill?
Marcus, what about your skill set do you think lends itself to playing well in that nickel position? And who else has been ripping with you there?
So we've worked, a couple of the young guys there. Ronnie Hickman, I think he's been working some there. You got Cam Martinez. And then also, I think that's pretty much been it. And personally, I think, I've been in this program for a few years. I've had a lot of coaching, a lot of different coaches. And I think I've been able to bring a lot of that football knowledge to the position, along with my personal skill set. So I'm excited to get started and get to work with Coach Coombs and have a great season.
Okay, next up, hey, hold on 1 second, guys. I'm going back and forth on a computer here. I don't know who I said was next. Oh, okay. Next up, Bill Landis with The Athletic and Jeremy Birmingham on deck. Bill?
I just went Jerry, so Birmingham.
Oh, did you? Okay. Yeah, okay. I told you I was going back and forth. All right. Next up, Jeremy Birmingham, Lettermen Row with Rob Aller on deck. Jeremy?
And Marcus, can you just give a little insight into how you personally are feeling after kind of a really circular route to get actually coached by Coach Coombs? Because obviously he recruited you. You've now had 3 defensive backs coach in the last couple of years. Like, how are you handling all this, and what does it mean to you finally to get a chance to play for the guy that recruited you to Ohio State?
Like you said, I've had every year it seems, some changes in our coaching. Guys move up, move on to the next level or what have you. And I think, just with all that coaching, it's just brought so much knowledge and so much different techniques and styles, that I've been able to bring and utilize on the field. And now that, Coach Coombs is back, it's really rejuvenated me, and, kind of reminded me of why we come here. We come here to win championships and to get to the next level. And Coach Coombs, he preaches that every day. And so we've had that relationship, since I was 15. He started recruiting me. So it's great to have him back. And every day, we walk in with a smile on our face, ready to get to work. So.
What was his reaction to you the first time that he got to see you now after being away for a couple of years? And, what was his feedback on how you'd grown since you got to Ohio State?
Right. So, Coach Coombs, of course, he came in and, he understood, my career here hasn't been ideal or hasn't been, perfect for myself. But, you come in, he's brought that new sense of energy. And, he came in the first day and told me, that you're still the same player that I recruited. And let's get to work. And I think, we've just been making extreme strides, since he's been here. So it's great to have him.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
Next up, and hey, folks, let's do this. If I call on someone, I know some of you guys have specific questions for Coach Coombs and maybe not for the student athletes. I'm going to just go down my list so I don't get even more confused. But you can just pass on it if you'd like, and I'll certainly get around on this list a couple of times. So we should be able to get everybody to be able to ask questions with who they need to. So next up, Rob Aller from the Columbus Dispatch with Joe Dempsey on deck. Rob?
Hey, Marcus, thanks for doing this. Hey, how important is the Best in America tag that you guys kind of pride yourselves on, and how much do you have to pass sort of the history of that and the importance of that on to younger guys?
Right. So, you hear the term BIA, and, you really don't know what it means. It might take a year, it might take 2 years to really get a true understanding of what it is. But, Coach Coombs, he originated it, with some of those guys like Garrett and Marshawn and, the greats that have came through here. And what he preaches, is that, we're not competing against the guy next to us. We're competing against them. We're trying to, push that bar higher that all those first rounders have set here. And so every day, we go out with that thought process that, we come here and we want to be first rounders and we want to win championships. And he's not afraid to say it. We're not afraid to say it. That's the standard here, and that's what we always try to uphold.
Next up, Joe Dempsey with Buckeye Sports Bulletin and Tony Girdman on deck. Joe?
Hey, Marcus. Hope you're doing well. Now that Tyrique Johnson's in his third year with the program, how has he developed on and off the field since coming in as a 5-star recruit, and what's the next step for him?
Right. So, like you mentioned, Tyrique came in as a 5-star, that 5-star pedigree, and Tyrique's extremely talented. We've had some great guys in our unit, and sometimes, it's hard to really break through. But Tyrique, he comes to work every day with his head down, and he goes to work. So we're really excited for Tyrique. He's been showing great things, and we're excited to see him on the field this season.
Thank you.
Next up, Tony Girdman with Buckeye Scoop and Joey Kaufman on deck. Tony?
Marcus, you mentioned your career not going quite the way you wanted to this point, but now you're a senior looking like you are the guy. This is kind of a free year for you as well because it's basically a redshirt year for everybody. So how do you feel right now having this opportunity, and I guess what is your determination right now to make the most of it?
So like you said, I came in pretty much injury ridden, my first couple of years. And anybody that, goes through injuries, you got the great stories here, like, Johnny Dixon. You've got the Justin Hilliards, these great stories of these comebacks. And luckily I haven't had, these, major, like Achilles and knee, but, I've had my struggles. And having this year, having this extra year, it's given me a new lifeblood. I'm so ready to help this team and help us win. And I think that's really the driving force behind it. Now that I've stepped into a leadership role, I just love this team so much. And I just want to do whatever we can to win, man. So I'm ready to get excited. I'm ready for week 1. We've done a lot of waiting. I've done a lot of waiting, and I think we're ready as a team.
Next up, Joey Kaufman of the Columbus Dispatch with Mary Smith on deck. Joey?
Marcus, as far as you guys have, much of this offseason has been condensed, and there obviously hasn't been a lot of opportunities to practice in pads and work on fundamentals like tackling. Where do you guys, and it seems like pads might come on next week, but where do you guys feel like you are as far as a lot of just defensive fundamentals?
So yeah, it not having pads on in practice, it definitely has its difficulties. But I think Coach Day, our defensive staff and our staff as a whole, they preach practicing like a pro. And so without having those pads on, you're able to, practice those fundamentals, having great football position, playing low, having the right approach on a tackle. And I think it'll pay off once we get the pads on. And yeah.
Next up, Mary Smith from WSYX Channel 6 with Spencer Holbrook on deck. Mary?
Hey, Marcus. So I just had a question. Coach Combs has sent so many to pros. Can you guys hear me? Okay,
Yes.
awesome. He has sent so many to pros. How has he helped you?
Well, you know, Coach Combs, he spent 2 years in the league, and you know, he's always just had a great football knowledge and a great sense of technique. And you know, he's really brought that knowledge back to us and really just helped us to take that next step forward and understand where we are and where we want to go. So it's been great to have him.
Thank you.
We're going to take just 2 or 3 more questions for Marcus and then bring in Coach Combs. Next up, Spencer Holbrook from Lettermen Row with Dan Hope on deck. Spencer?
Marcus, when you come in to the program with guys like Jeff and the talent that you came in with in the secondary, what did you learn from the years with those guys that can kind of help you take that next step and become what they were in the past?
You know, first, you know, those are my teammates, you know, and so you really just, you know, you feed off of each other, and, you know, being able to sit down and watch those guys and how they compete, and understanding that, you know, I came in with those guys too. And so, you know, just trying to reach that standard that, you know, a guy like last year, like Jeff set, and guys previous, you know, it's something that we all strive for, and I strive for personally. So.
Next up, Dan Hope with 11 Warriors and Patrick Murphy on deck. Dan?
Hey, Marcus. Tony mentioned before about, you know, you guys getting the extra year of eligibility. Have you thought about that at all? About, you know, you thought this was going to be your last year, and, you know, now you might have that opportunity to come back for a second year?
Right. Well, you know, 2020 has been a crazy year for us as a nation and as a whole. And coronavirus and the pandemic, you know, it's brought a lot of issues, but it's also, you know, it's been a blessing in disguise for me. You know, I've had some seasons cut short here, and having this extra year, you know, it gives me, you know, a sense of freedom, you know, to just go out there and play and have fun and be that leader for the guys that I think we need on defense, and that, you know, we can really strive and go do big things this year. So great to be back, great to have that year, and just ready to get started.
Thanks, Marcus.
And last question for Marcus comes from Patrick Murphy with 24/7 Sports. Patrick?
Marcus, you mentioned not having pads. I'm curious how much tackling you guys have done. We've seen teams throughout the country kind of start the season slow. Some teams haven't practiced tackling at all. Obviously, you guys have some time, but how much have you guys been able to do in that department?
So, you know, we haven't had pads on much, like I mentioned earlier. But, you know, there's ways, you know, practice having, you know, a great approach to the tackle, having great football position, playing low, playing with great eyes. And that's something we drill every day and we emphasize. And so once those pads come on, you know, it's like taking the training wheels off, you know. So having those practice habits every day and practicing like a professional, I think will really pay off for us as a team.
Marcus, that'll do it for tonight. Thank you so much for your time, and have a great week. Thanks again.
Okay, thank you, guys.
All right, next up, folks, is we're going to open up with Coach Combs. Up will be Nathan Baird from Cleveland.com with Bill Rabinowitz on deck. Just give me one moment there, folks.
I got to go over there. Yeah. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not worried.
I know.
I don't want this all day, but I appreciate you.
Oh, yeah, that's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
See how that looks. Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
There we go. Up next, Nathan Baird with Cleveland.com and Bill Rabinowitz on deck. Nathan?
Hey, Kerry. We were all pretty impressed, or a lot of us were, with what we saw from Sevyn Banks on that brief look we got of you guys first day of spring camp. You obviously look at him with a little bit more scrutiny than us, though. So just what does he still need to do to impress you by the start of the season?
Well, he's got to be consistent in his performance and his preparation, but at the same time, I've been very, very pleased with Sevyn. I think he's an explosive athlete. I think he's big and long and very much in the tradition of the corners that we've had here at Ohio State. So I'm excited to coach him and see how he fares out there.
Next up, Bill Rabinowitz with the Columbus Dispatch and Tim May on deck. Bill?
Hi, Kerry.
Hi, Bill.
You came back. I'm sure you wanted to maximize every second that you could when you returned or refamiliarize yourself with the players, get things installed. How much of a setback has it been to have to kind of go on whatever schedule this is and have been gone as long as you were? How much catch up are you still kind of playing?
I'm having a hard time hearing you, but I think what you're asking is the delay and the opportunity to be with the kids from March, whatever it was, till June the 8th, and doing all that over Zoom, and then the way the summer's been. And I prefer to be a hands-on coach. I learned to be a Zoom coach. I think the neat part about that was that I probably have more communication with those kids than I would have in a normal recruiting cycle when I would have been on the road. So that was new and gave us a good opportunity to spend some time in some areas other than football where we were getting, to have conversation. And the other thing is there's a whole lot of those guys that were here, the first time around, and kids that I recruited. So I have a relationship with them. But at the same time, there's no question that the absence of available practice time, was disappointing. There's nothing we could do about it. And so we can sit around and cry about it, or we can just put our heads down and do with what we have. And I think we maximized every bit of time that we were allowed to. I think Ryan did a remarkable job of putting a schedule together that on a daily basis gave us the opportunity to work with kids in discretionary formats, voluntary formats, Zoom format, every possible way that you could. And so I'm comfortable that while nobody would like the situation, I'm comfortable that we probably maximize that time as well as anybody.
And how, it's an obvious question, but how much of an impact does Shawn Wade's return have? And how confident are you that the other three spots will play to the standard that Ohio State is used to?
Well, I mean, it's very early in camp for me to say confident, but at the same time, I really like these kids. I love Shawn Wade. I'm thrilled he came back. I think we have a lot of talent back there in the back end. It's just young talent. It's, inexperienced talent, but that's what happens when you have great players. I mean, we lost a bunch of really good players off of the defense, but we recruited a bunch of really good players to take their place and guys that have been working extremely hard to have that opportunity. So I'm excited about it, guys. We're ready to play. We'll be fine.
Thanks, Kerry.
Next up, Tim May with Lettermen Row and Brendan Gulick on deck. Tim, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Thank you,
Gary. Thanks for calling on me. By the way, Kerry, I think I heard on the radio show the other day you're a grandfather again, so congratulations.
It's 8 of them now. 8 of them under 7. So thank you. It's but my kids are fertile.
That's called the herd mentality, I think. But
I believe so. And please don't put that on Twitter. I know. And somebody in there's typing that already. I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, you shouldn't have. I shouldn't have said it either. But hey, that's life. Real quick, what does it? If you had to define for someone, what does it take for a player in your mind to be starter capable as a cornerback at Ohio State? What are you looking for the next 5 weeks? Obviously, Shawn Wade's going to be back, you do believe. But what are you looking for example, at that other spot that's going to define people that you think can play the cornerback position at Ohio State?
Yeah, that's a great question, Tim. I think more than anything, I'm looking for a gritty competitor, a kid that refuses to lose, that it plays with a fearless mentality of my man catches no balls. And that's really the mindset that we have to have, play in and play out. Physically, I love long, fast corners, and we all know that. But more than anything, I want a mentally tough guy who's going to line up day in, day out, play in, play out, and have the confidence that his guy is not going to get open. He's going to be in on-body coverage, and he's going to deny that reception. And so that we're developing that mentality. I'm excited about these guys and their development of it. But that is really what I'm looking for. It's what I look for when I recruit. I like to recruit winners. I like to recruit guys that that their guy doesn't catch the ball. And if we do that, we've had good days.
In the last several weeks, there's been one guy that's kind of jumping out at you that maybe people don't know about right now who could be in that mix.
I wouldn't say that. I think everybody knows all the kids that we have here. And I think, we've had some guys that are slowed a little bit by injury and different things like that. But I think that this is the core group of players that everybody has talked about are the guys that are going to go. I think we have a great group of young freshmen and they're talented. They don't know what they don't know yet. And so we're working on that. But, they're learning about the toughness of Ohio State and the culture. And I think those kids are all going to contribute. I think that this season, more than any other, you're going to have to depend on young players and inexperienced players to step in and fill roles. And so we're working really hard on coaching our depth as well.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next up, Brendan Gulick from Buckeyes Now on SI with Bill Landis on deck. Brendan?
Hey, Coach, thanks for spending a little time with us.
Sure.
Pretty clear that the state of Ohio is an important place to you. Born and bred here, coached a lot of football here at all levels. You left and you came back. Why is Ohio football so important to you?
Well, it's really everything about who I am. From the time I was so glad we're going to get to play and coach. It's been 53 years since I wasn't on a sideline, and I was 4 years old at the time, in a fall. And so it's everything about who I am and kind of how I grew up. My wife and I went to the same high school. Our kids went to that high school. We grew up 2 miles apart from one another. We lived in Cincinnati all our lives and really had no plan to leave there until Urban called, and then that kind of got us moving. But I grew up watching Woody Hayes coach and Archie Griffin run the ball and all the things that a lot of other Ohio people did. And I love this state. I love what you get in Ohio residents. I love, you know exactly what I'm from the west side of Cincinnati, and you know exactly what you're getting from a west sider. And I found that that's true universally around the state of Ohio. And one of the things that I love the best is when I go somewhere else, invariably somebody is going to say OH, and there's a connection there. So Buckeyes are special people, and I'm just really, really glad to be one of them.
Thanks for sharing.
Next up, Bill Landis from The Athletic with Austin Ward on deck. Bill?
Hey, Kerry.
Hey, Bill.
Where you just came from the NFL, it seems like nickel or big nickel, whatever you want to call it, has kind of become the base kind of defense across the league. And just wondering how maybe you see that trickling down to college and whether or not you think the college game is moving towards having one of those hybrid kind of defenders on the field, guys who can play safety and corner or safety and linebacker.
Yeah, I think that it's a nickel-based league because it's a throwing league. 70% of the plays are passes. There's very little quarterback run, although it's cycling back to that a little bit with some of the dynamic young quarterbacks and their ability to run. And so you're going to be in a nickel. You're going to have to be in a nickel concept and to be able to handle the speed in the slot of kids like Tyreek Hill and those guys that they have in the NFL. And so I think it has its place. Obviously in college football, not necessarily just on third down. It's more based on your opponents and what they're trying to do with the ball. But you always have the quarterback run factor in college football that you don't experience in the same way there. And so I think that there's a little bit more of a hesitance for some people to play some nickel stuff on first and second down here.
So when you look at the group that you kind of inherited, and I guess you could argue that with Shawn and Pete on the field, you could potentially be a nickel, even if it looks like a 4-3. Where do you see, I guess, this defense going in terms of some more of those looks? I know maybe you don't need it as much in the Big Ten week to week, but just sort of diversifying the package, I guess, a little bit. How much do you think you can add to this defense?
I think the big thing is having the ability to play in multiple personnel groupings on defense. I don't think that that's something that is necessarily common throughout college football, but having the ability to play and have packages with different personnel groupings, I think is has been an offensive thing for a long time, but I think it's bleeding over to the defensive side of things. And I think you're going to see that continue to grow and develop. I think more than anything for us right now, it's going to be ability based. It's going to be based on the talent of the roster and, frankly, the health of the roster. You know, you're going to have to be flexible this year. You're going to have to be able to adapt to a lot of situations based on who's healthy and able and ready to go. And so those are things that may evolve more this year than any other.
Thanks, Gary.
Sure.
All right, folks, I'm going to have time for just a few more questions for Coach Coombs. Next up, Austin Ward from Lettermen Row with Rob Aller on deck. Austin?
Hey, Kerry.
Hey, Austin.
I understand that you got to, or you were one of the coaches that made a call to Shawn on his birthday last week. Which recruiting pitch was the tougher one or the bigger win for you, getting him out of high school or getting him to come back?
Yeah, it's funny. I never felt like it was hard recruiting Shawn Wade. I mean, everybody says that. I think this is an extraordinary kid. First of all, I sang happy birthday to him. So that was, I think, what pushed it over the top. But the reality is that this is a kid that loves his team. He loves his university. You guys remember he committed all the way back when we won a national championship in 2014. He loves to win. I just think he's an extraordinary kid. We've had a great relationship the entire time that we've known each other. Even when I was in Tennessee, and I would text these kids and communicate back with them and encourage them and those kind of things. I mean, I just feel like I've had a great relationship with him all along. And to be honest with you, and the reality is, when a kid says to you, I need you to talk to me like I'm your son, then there's a lot of responsibility that goes with whatever you're going to say to him. And I don't take that lightly. And so our conversations, I tried in every way, shape, and form to talk to him as if he was one of my two sons in the same situation and give him the advice that I would have given them. And at the same time, making sure that he was very comfortable, understanding that I loved him regardless of what he decided, that was unconditional, and it had nothing to do with whether or not he played for us or somebody else or whatever he did in this season.
And Jerry mentioned that he wasn't able to practice with you guys quite yet. Is there any concern, or is that just part of this process playing out? Any concern about him being able to get cleared?
No concern about that, but it is part of the process. And then
Okay.
So it's just a matter of COVID testing, which if any of you have had that, it's a wonderful experience. I would recommend it to all of you. But we're just waiting on his results right now.
Gotcha. Thanks, Kerry.
Sure.
Next up, Rob Aller from the Columbus Dispatch, and we'll close with Doug Lesmerises. Rob, you're up.
Hey, Kerry.
Hi, Rob.
How you doing?
Great, thanks.
Hey, going back to when you first got here, you coming up with the Best in America tag. Hey, how did you come up with it? But what's the satisfaction now where you are, seeing how successful this whole thing has gone? And can you describe that?
I don't know. I'm not satisfied yet, but I appreciate that. Really, the whole mantra of BIA came from being at the best place in America. And if we're at the best place in America, we certainly should be the best in America at what we do. I do when I recruit kids, I tell them I really only want to be around people who want to be the best in the world at what they do. And that doesn't matter if it's the girl that comes in and sprays all the stuff in my and is trying to make sure it's healthy for when I return the next day, or the kid who's dragging the bags out from my drills every day. I just want to be around people who want to be the best in the world at what they do. And since we really only play football in America, we decided best in America. And that's a challenge, because that means there's a standard to live up to every single day. That's not something that you just say and somebody slaps it on a shirt or on a hashtag and you become that. I mean, we try to hold ourselves to be accountable to that every day. And I think the kids have a vision of that. They have an understanding of what's required. They're in communication with our guys who are in the NFL, who let them know, you have to perform. You have to perform every day. You've got to, there's a living, breathing standard to live up to. And so I'm really gratified by that. I'm gratified by the kids that are still playing, what they're doing in the NFL. I think it's extraordinary. Obviously, the volume of kids that we've got playing right now and how well they're playing, it's exciting. And, you know, and the fact that we're in constant communication with all those kids is really neat to me.
And when you were in the league, did you run into guys, scouts or whatever, that kind of came and said, what do you got? What did you have going on at Ohio State? I assume that your reputation kind of preceded you there.
Well, I mean, I think that what I told my kids when I left was that I had that opportunity because of the way they had performed and played. And I think that that was true. I owed them for that. And so when I got there, obviously there's a lot of questions about the players that the Titans wanted to know, you know, about those kind of things. And so I just tried to coach those guys the same way I tried to coach these guys. And you know, it seemed like we were doing okay there the last couple of years. So, and I think they're going to be really good this year. So, so I don't know. I really don't even know if that answers your question, but, you know, I don't think they didn't think we were waving magic wands. We got a great strength coach who trains these kids in extraordinary fashion. We have to compete against the best wide receivers in the country day in and day out. And because of that, you survive or you get eaten alive. And the kids that survive here in practice are going to be okay on Saturdays. And if they're okay on Saturdays at a place like this, they're probably going to have a chance to be okay on Sundays somewhere else.
Thanks a lot.
And final question for Coach Coombs comes from Doug Lesmerises from Cleveland.com. Doug?
Hey, Kerry.
Hey, Doug.
You said you like long, fast corners, and I think we all know that. Marcus Williamson from the outside feels to us at the moment in the very early stages like maybe the leader to start in the slot. Maybe you can tell us if that's correct or not. But Marcus isn't quite as long as some of the other guys you've had through here. What did you like about Marcus and the way he plays at the size he is? What did you like about him in recruiting, and how do you see that translating right now?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, Doug. It's a matchup business, right? And so he's playing more in the slot than he is outside simply because more of the slots we'll play against will be similar size and stature players. Slot corner is going to major in short space quickness, whereas the long corner on the outside is going to have probably a little bit more long speed and have some length at the line of scrimmage and press man-to-man against taller wide receivers. And so that's been, to me, an easy transition for Marcus, and I have a comfort level with that. I've recruited Marcus out of high school. I've always found him to be a thoughtful, intelligent player who plays really, really hard. I think he's had an extraordinary offseason. I think he's playing really well right now. I'm excited to watch him continue to grow and compete as the season goes forward. But I think he's had a really, really good fall and spring.
And just thinking very long term here, Kerry, if you still are at Ohio State, if and when Braden becomes a head coach, would you leave Ohio State to go work for him?
That's a great question. So I love my son more than I love oxygen, but I don't know that I could work for him or that he could work for me. I shouldn't say that because that'll be on Twitter too. I got to tell you, every day I get to spend with Braden Coombs is a pleasure for me. He just texted me a little while ago, and I'm very, very proud of him. But I love Ohio State, and I'm really glad to be back here. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay. Seems like he's doing good things up there. Thanks, Kerry.
I appreciate that, Doug. Thank you.
Hey, Kerry, can you just give a Haskell Garrett update at all?
I can't hear you, Bill.
Can you give a Haskell Garrett update?
I think he's probably not as far away as any of us would have thought when you get shot in the face. If that helps you, Bill. I mean, I would have thought season over, career over, and I don't think that's true. If that helps. I don't even know what I'm allowed to say on that, so I'll be quiet.
Yep. Coach Coombs, thank you so much for your time.
Gary. Thanks, guys. Hey, listen, all you guys, I really enjoy reading the stuff you write and watching you on Twitter and all that stuff. You guys do a great job with Ohio State football. You have class and dignity, and I believe in no small measure the efforts on all of your parts are helping us play. And I don't want to leave, because I don't know when I'll see you guys again, without saying thank you to you, because the coverage of our parents, the coverage of our players, and the work that everybody did to give these kids the opportunity that they deserve, which is just to go play the game that they love. You guys are part of that. And I just want to tell you how much I appreciate that and appreciate your efforts. It doesn't go unnoticed here. And you know, our head coach, I thought, was phenomenal in this process, but I think there was a lot of people helping. And I think you guys are certainly on that team. And I know you're not allowed to be on teams, but I just want to tell you, I appreciate it. And I appreciate your class and the way that you handled this and helped us. Thank you for that. I wouldn't want to be not coaching this fall. And you guys are a big part of that. So thank you.
Thanks, Coach. Thank you very much, Coach. That was awesome. All right, gentlemen, we're going to bring Sevyn Banks to the chair now, and I'm going to open up the questions with Joe Dempsey from Buckeye Sports Bulletin. He'll be followed by Tony Girdman. Not there just yet, Joe, so hold on. I'm going to run through the people that haven't asked, had a chance on a second question. If somebody absolutely needs Sevyn, shoot me a text, and we'll get you on, but we'll open up the floor with, if we could have just one question per person at this point now. Joe Dempsey from Buckeye Sports Bulletin.
Hey, Sevyn, how's it going?
What's up? I'm good.
So now that Tyrique Johnson is in his third season with the program, how have you seen him coming along and developing both on and off the field, and what's the next step for him?
You know, Tyrique, that's my boy. You know, we, you know, clinched, you know, as soon as we got in here. And, you know, Tyrique's doing good. You know, he's smart, you know, intelligent player. You know, he gonna get it, you know.
Thank you.
Next up, Tony Girdman with Buckeye Scoop and Joey Kaufman on deck. Tony?
Sevyn, this is now your third year. You played quite a bit last year. How comfortable are you right now? Do you feel like you're a returning starter and leader of the secondary?
Yeah, I feel good, man. You know, we taking it day by day right now. You know, I'm taking it day by day right now, and you know, I just can't wait to get on the field. You know, can't wait to show us. You know, show it.
What did you learn from your time last year?
You know, being you know, the backup for Jeff and Damon, a lot actually. You know, because they're very smart. You know, they're two different people. You know, and I, you know, get game from both sides, and I just, you know, put it to my talent.
Next up, Joey Kaufman with the Columbus Dispatch and Mary Smith on deck. Joey?
Yeah, just wanted that. Where do you guys feel like you are with tackling? It's obviously, it hasn't been something you guys have been able to work on much this offseason, but it's been kind of an issue in some of the earlier college football games.
Well, right now, you know, we don't got on no pads right now, so you know, we, you know, have a particular process that we do, you know, to help when we get on pads, so we, you know, we're not missing no tackles come game time, you know. So, you know, we gonna actually, that's gonna come.
Next up, Mary Smith, WSYX Channel 6, and Spencer Holbrook on deck. Mary?
Hey, Sevyn. What was it like just kind of waiting, being stuck in limbo to find out whether or not you're actually going to be playing this season with Big Ten?
Yeah, that was a process. Yeah, it was just a waiting game for real, but you know, we always just, you know, trying to get ready so we could play. You know, it's always ready. It's always good to, you know, be ready.
Thank you.
Next up, Spencer Holbrook, Lettermen Row with Dan Hope on deck. Spencer?
Sevyn, it seems like there was a day or two stretch where you and Cam thought you were probably going to have to be, you know, the two guys once Shawn said he was going to the NFL. When he came back, I know he's one of the best cornerbacks in the country, but what was that? What were those couple days like to your thought process and just going through that process, knowing that you might have to step up even more if he would have left?
Yeah, my thought process about that, it never really changed. I always came in, to ball, and that's never gonna change. Whoever here, no matter what's going on. So yeah, I'm gonna just do me.
Next up, Dan Hope, 11 Warriors with Patrick Murphy on deck. Dan?
Hey, Sevyn, with Shawn being back at one of those outside cornerback spots, what's that competition been like between you and Cam and Tyrique, trying to get that other starting spot?
We take it day by day. It ain't, you feel me? We at Howard State, we got to compete, every day. So it is, we just gonna compete. I don't really know what to say about that for real, but we gonna compete.
Next up, Patrick Murphy with 24/7 Sports and Jeremy Birmingham on deck. Patrick?
Sevyn, you talked about learning from Jeff and Damon last year. I'm just curious how this offseason has been different, knowing you really can be one of the top 3 corners for the team this year, as opposed to kind of knowing there's a roadblock with guys like that in front of you.
Yeah, like I said, I took both of their mindsets in football and added to mine, and yeah, I mean, it's great. I put it together, I'll be good.
Next up, Dan Hope with 11 Warriors. And wait a minute, who are we on? Dan, have you asked a question?
I already went. I'm good.
Next up, Patrick Murphy, 24/7 Sports. Jeremy Birmingham on deck.
It's Berm's turn. I just went.
Yeah, that's what I said. Jeremy Birmingham. You're next up with Tim May on deck.
Hey, Sevyn, I was curious about the development of Marcus Williamson as a leader, as a guy who hasn't played a lot, for you and for Cam, what you guys have learned or gained from Marcus, just the way that he's been able to deal with the tough hands that he's kind of had to deal with in the last couple of years. Yeah,
Everybody, is dealt some cards, and it depends on how you play it. And Marcus has been playing his cards, well. It's different, from being in the game and then just watching the game. You learn, you see a lot of stuff when you're not in the game, and when Marcus, is in, he applies of what he's seen and what he's been through over the years to the game, and he, very smart, intelligent person, and he put it together. He gonna be good.
Thank you.
Couple more questions for Sevyn. Next up, Tim May with Lettermen Row, and we'll end with Nathan Baird. Tim?
Thank you very much, Jerry. 2 quickies, Sevyn. Number one, you got that 24/7 necklace on. Usually that means always open, but what does it mean for a defensive back?
Oh, no. For me, growing up, my first number was 24, and my name is Sevyn. So that I used to play offense. I switched to defense when I was about maybe a junior in high school, and they used to call me 24/7 all the time. And nah, this don't mean the wide receivers are always open. This ain't that.
Yeah.
Don't come over here with that. Nah.
And the other thing I want to ask you, what does it take? You've been here for a while now. What does it take to show that you are capable of being a starter at Ohio State? What do you need to show Coach Coombs and Coach Day the next several weeks and stuff? And what would you tell somebody if you had to explain to them what it takes to be a big-time starter at Ohio State in the secondary, which has got so much rep right now?
Yeah, what it all come down to is just making plays, knowing what you're doing on the field and being smart. And, what I got to do different to be a starter, I don't got to do nothing different. I just do me and keep balling.
Thanks, man.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll close out tonight's interviews with some questions or a question from Nathan Baird with Cleveland.com. Nathan?
Yeah, 2 cookies for me, too, if I can take a page out of Mr. May's book. What deal did you make with Teraj Mitchell to get number 7?
What happened? What means he did? I don't even know. I think last year, probably like halfway through the season, I'm like, T, man, I need 7. It's only right. It's only right, T. Like, let me, And then he was like, okay, cool. I'll give it to you. And that's how that kind of way. We ain't really arguing too much about it, but I had to pick his brain a couple times.
You didn't have to make a transaction.
Oh, no. I don't.
Okay. And just, for yourself, I guess maybe for a lot of us, we think, well, what difference does a number make? But does that mean something to you? And just as far as the identity that you want to have, and especially for this season when there's I guess so much of a role potentially there for you, does something like that kind of factor into the kind of, I guess, attitude you can take onto the field or the presence you want to have as an athlete?
Yeah. Shoot. You know, you look good, you play good, and I got that mindset. You know, that's what has been instilled in me. And Sevyn, it's a lot of things for me. Even though my name's Sevyn, my mom is a real biblical person. You know, she named me Sevyn. It took God 7 days to make the earth. You know, it's a completion number, and it's just real common in the Bible. And just 7 all the way around. You know, that's just me. That's how I take it.
So I just want to make sure I heard that right. You said your mom is a real difficult person?
No, biblical, like
biblical person.
Yeah.
Sorry. Thank you. I think that's an important thing to get right.
Yeah.
Great. Sevyn, thank you so much for your time this evening. We really, really appreciate it. And we'll see you down the road. Thanks again. Guys, so this was interesting. This is the first set of Zooms, obviously, that we've had on campus with our players. It's not easy. We've had a bunch. We probably had a dozen bins of laundry come through the Bigs lobby, because that's what happens after a game, and numbers of people. I hope the sound was okay enough for you that you're able to hear. You know, so we got 3 guys there in probably, I don't know, 40 minutes or so. I think it's going to be really difficult to get, you know, more than 3. Maybe we might be able to get 4 down the road, but it's going to be difficult. But that's this year too. This year has been difficult, but we'll continue to do, you know, everything we can to get you guys good sound, quality young men to talk to, different young men to talk to. I mean, we'll try to stay away from the guys that you've had so many times in the last couple of years, and bring some of the new guys out. That'll be the goal in the plan. And I would just, you know, urge you, just hang with us. I'm looking at an iPad, a computer, and my iPhone. It's just wild, but you know what? It's great. Everything's great. Life is good. We got some interviews done, and I'm starting to build back credibility with the group that receives my texts from my weekend error. And I do have to say, on a Thursday, so once I put the schedule out for our media schedule later that day, I learned that we're not practicing on Thursday. So Thursday's interviews, I'm going to move back to Friday. So we'll just do the interviews Friday. I'll shoot everybody. I'll